Hey guys, MogulCon here, bringing you back another Alchemist video, and this one's going to be looking at your items and basically your routes you can take with your items. So after you play, I would follow this build until you've played a good, 50 to 100 games on Alchemist. Then you'll really know what items to get in what games, because as we talked about in last video, Alchemist is a hero all about items, and you have the power to really get whatever item your team needs. So now these aren't items I recommend to get, but if your team needs a sheep stick or a hex, scythe of ice, you can get that. If your team needs an e-blade, ethereal blade, you can get that. If your team needs a solar crest, you can get that. You can get all of those items that your team needs. It's not so much about like what you want. Like, yeah, I would want a Abyssal Blade, Daedalus, MKB. Like, these are all really cool items to have on a carry, but not necessarily what your team needs, and you need to think about that when you're playing the game. So for my starting build, I usually start with something like this. This leaves you with about 40 extra gold, and you can buy a salve with the first bounty rune or whatever and ship that out. And the reason I do this is 2 circlets over 2 gauntlets. If I know that I'm going for the bracer, then I'll get the 2 gauntlets. Or I'll get 1 gauntlet, 1 bracer, or circlet or whatever. But sometimes, like we talked about in the null episode, you might want to go those nulls. You might want to go that null route. So keeping that option open, 2 circlets, you lose about 2 damage, but you get 2 agility, you get 2 intelligence, so it's not that bad of a trade-off, in all honesty. And with a Quelling Blade, you're doing like 70 damage to creeps anyway, so keeping that in mind. So the standard build I have right here would be 2 bracers and a soul ring, or you could do 1 bracer and a soul ring depending on the game. Just think about that, and this will really allow you to tank up and be more survivable in those early stages of the game when everyone's running at you. And like I said, if you have a free game or you're against a hero like Zeus or whatever, I strongly recommend these nulls, because you're going to need to ship out tens of thousands of clarities throughout the game with this build. This build, you're only going to have to ship out like maybe 3 or 2. Anyway, these are the boots I would recommend. I have them in their own category just because it's really important to think about when you're playing Alchemist. Is they definitely dictate what style of play you're going to have. Basically, travels is, like I said, if you're having like this free game, you can kind of farm the whole map, and the 110 movement speed really pairs well with your chemical rage, because that is a movement speed bonus as well. So very strong item there. But again, it doesn't give you any stats, it doesn't give you any armor, it gives you practically nothing. It just allows you to farm a lot faster with the boots of travel. So I normally I don't go this item, because these items are just so much better. With the people running at you all the time, people will be ganking you nonstop and contesting you. They don't like you very much, so just remember that. So power treads is that raw strength bonus. You also have the added ability to tread swap, swapping to int, swapping to strength, to be able to cast your spells more regularly. So I'm going to go power treads if I'm against like heavy magical burst damage, because that 10 strength will allow me to kind of survive through that. And pairing that with the soul ring, that's 16 strength, that's 21 strength, that's 26 strength. Like, all that is 26 strength, and then you're building like ogre clubs later on in your build. That's 36. It all adds up, So you're much harder to kill. Phase boots is also a really good item. The active ability to give you, bonus movement speed pairs well with your chemical rage, and on top of that, 4 armor is something that your hero desperately needs and wants. It doesn't really boost, like, you're gonna farm faster with the treads because of the attack speed, right, and because of the damage. This, you still get some damage, but you don't get any attack speed, so you're attacking slower. So this is more of like an aggressive, but also defensive. I think if you're against like a Phantom Assassin or a Clinks or just heavy physical damage, you definitely want the phase boots over the treads. Now, moving on to your farming items, we're going to have Radiance, Maelstrom, and Battle Fury. Radiance is the item that you want. You absolutely want this Radiance. However, there are some games where you have a carry that's queuing up a Battle Fury. Don't go Radiance. Do not go Radiance if your carry is queuing up a Battle Fury. Just take it from my personal experience. If you have a Radiance and they have a Battle Fury, that is too much. You need too much space with those items. If they have a Battle Fury, I recommend going the Maelstrom. It still works very well with your kit. It allows you to farm faster, and it builds into a Mjolnir later on, which is an amazing item for Alchemist. Getting that lightning shield, getting that the damage, the chain lightning procs, and just the attack speed. It's a very good item for Alchemist. So keeping that option open. I would not go Radiance if your carry is going to Battle Fury. I would also not go Radiance against certain Radiance counters like Nyx Assassin. I would not go Radiance against Nyx Assassin because Nyx Assassin will be able to basically carapace you from invisibility and stun you, and then chain that up with a Impale and any other follow-up that your team might have with that burn that you're not going to be able to really toggle that off if he walks up to you invisible. Yeah. As for Battle Fury, it's a very good it's situational, if, like I said, if you're against the Nyx, or if you're just not feeling the Radiance. Say they have like a Chaos Knight, which Radiance is traditionally pretty good against, but Chaos Knight doesn't have an insane armor pool. He has good armor, but it's not insane, and he has a very high HP pool. So I'd recommend like Battle Fury against a Chaos Knight. Or you got to think about like, what are the stats that I'm losing? So you also have to think about like, I get 3.5 mana, not 3.5, but 3.25 mana regen and 7.5 HP regen. Those stats are also very nice for Alchemist. So if you like went Soul Ring, double Bracer into Battle Fury, that's a fine build. But if you're going double Null into Battle Fury, that is awful. You don't want to do that because then you have just too much too much mana regeneration, and the Nulls really pair well with the Radiance, giving you that amplification on that burn damage. And then lastly, I have this Echo Saber item. So you might be confused because it doesn't really pair up with all these. I just had to put it on the build path here because Echo Saber is a very nice item for Alchemist, as it builds into later items that you may want. So we're gonna get to those in a second. So survive, we have Manta Style, BKB, and SNY. These allow you to survive the enemy team's initial burst, and they also pair well with these items up here. Like I said with Echo Saber, say you get an Echo Saber around 15 minutes, like you go, Radiance Echo Saber. Pretty wonky build for sure, but the Echo Saber is going to, you can decombine that, you can uncombine that item, and then build the Ogre Club into the BKB or the SNY, and you can save that Oblivion Staff for your... Sorry, man. You can save that Oblivion Staff for your upcoming Silver Edge, for your upcoming Orchid into Bloodthorn. It's just a good item if you want to consider building Silver Edge or Bloodthorn. I do not go Echo Saber if I'm not going Bloodthorn or Silver Edge, because that Oblivion Staff, it's going to give you that mana regen that I talked about. So again, I wouldn't go Echo Saber with this Null route. You just have to think, all right? I'm trying to give you the foundation of the build, but you have to be cognizant of your own ability to build the hero how you want to build them. So like, for example, I wouldn't go double Null into Echo Saber with it just doesn't make much sense. Now in the event that I went like Bracer into Radiance, because I needed to tank up, like then maybe I'll consider the Echo Saber because I need the mana regen to cast my spells, etc., etc. But back to the survive thing. So the Manta Style pairs really well with the Radiance because you can send, if you're microing properly, you can send your illusions down other lanes, and that really accelerates your farm. Also, those illusions will be harder to kill because they'll have that 17% miss chance. BKB is core on Alchemist. I'd be hard pressed to find a game where I'm not building a BKB. Those are the games where we're utterly stomping, and there's, but still, 34 damage on a strength hero and the active ability to dispel, spirit vessels, not get stunned, really play your game and run at them. You're very scary with the BKB. So I would get this item pretty much every game. And then it's situational whether I'm getting S and Y or Manta. I think S and Y is the superior item because of those status resistance and HP regen and lifesteal amp. Like, you have HP regen with your ult, so it amplifies that even more. And the stats are just really nice. 16 strength as opposed to 10 strength. S and Y is definitely the superior choice in my opinion. But if you're playing against a hero like Silencer and you really need to dispel that silence with the mana style, or you're playing against an Ember Spirit who changes you and you don't want to commit a BKB for that, Manta style is good. So just have that option available. But definitely like S and Y, in my opinion, is better than Manta style for Alchemist. So here I have Initiate. So once you get these items, then you're going to want to look to initiate on heroes. So you have your farming item, you have your survivability. Now you can really jump in and unstable concoction people. So like we talked about with unstable concoction, you channel the ability, and you throw it out and you stun someone. It's very easy to stun yourself like we talked about. So the idea here is that you channel it from the shadows and you walk up and you either blink on the guy or you shadow blade on the guy or whatever the case may be, and that really helps you land these spells. Otherwise you're just like, hey, I'm walking at you with this spell, and they're like, okay, well, I'm gonna walk away. So yeah, really you need an initiation item to get this spell off. Not every game, like I said, but I would get like Blink Dagger if you're going Radiance. You don't necessarily want to go Silver Edge with the Radiance because you'll have to turn, like, the Radiance will show where you are on creep waves. So unless you're turning that item off. On top of that, if you're Shadow Blading up to someone with the Radiance on, they're going to see the status effect, like, oh, I'm getting burned by Radiance. Where is this coming from? There's an Alchemist on top of me, and that's going to give them time to react. So I would not recommend Radiance and Silver Edge pairing together. However, Silver Edge with Battle Fury is very nice. You'll pretty much have all the mana you'll ever need to work with. Silver Edge with Maelstrom's really nice because it gives you that break, it gives you that attack speed, and that attack speed works well with the Maelstrom procs because Maelstrom actually doesn't give you any attack speed until you get the Mjolnir. So considering these items, I think there's a case to be made for Swift Blink instead of Overwhelming Blink, which is the Agility Blink. But in most games that I'm getting an upgraded Blink, it's the Overwhelming Blink. It gives you 25 strength and it slows them. So you're like on top of them, you're slowing them, you're stunning them, and you're beating the shit out of them for 6 seconds. Very strong. And also does your strength damage. So like if you're having an Echo Saber, a Power Treads, a BKB, an S and Y. So let's do the math here. 16, 26, 36, throw in a Bracer there, 41, throw in the Blink, 66. So that's 100%, 200 plus 100% of your strength. Basically a 266 damage nuke. Very strong, very strong. Anyway, that's basically what you need. However, with these items, assuming you don't go all of them, hopefully you don't, you're not going to be 6 slotted, and you're going to need one more item to really finish the game or put your whole build together. So my recommendations, and these are recommendations, so if your team needs a sheep stick, just get a fucking sheep stick. If you need to get an axe for someone, like if you have a really strong axe on your team, then get an axe for them. But these are my recommendations. You have Solar Crest, AC, Bloodthorn, Mjolnir, Heart of Tarrasque, Butterfly, MKB, and Abyssal Blade. Now, I'm not going to talk about these items too much in detail because we're already well over like 9 minutes here or something. But just this will give you more armor and also buff your allies. Also debuff your enemy. This will give you more armor and buff your allies and debuff your enemy. This will allow you to lock down tricky heroes like any of the spirits or any of those tricky mobile heroes to lock down. This will give you that attack speed. I'm not getting this if I'm not getting this. Makes sense. Heart of Tarrasque, very strong item. Gives you 45 strength. Pairs really well with the Overwhelming Blink and allows you could be like 5k HP Alchemist at 30 minutes if you build it the way you want to build it. Butterfly gives you the evasion. So if you're not going Radiance or pairing with the Radiance, right, you can have even more evasion. So it doesn't stack additively, it stacks multiplicatively. So your evasion's looking at like 40% or 45%, but still very strong. And then Abyssal Blade allows you, like I said, same thing with Bloodthorn, but it just allows you to tank up more and also have that bash passive. And then MKB for those slippery heroes like PA. Except for PA, I like to go Silver Edge because that's a break there, and you don't necessarily need an MKB. But against like a Wind Ranger or something like that, you're having trouble hitting, consider the MKB. So I hope this has been informative. Take it as you will. Again, don't follow it to a T. Just get a feel for these items when you're building the Alchemist, and have fun and experiment, right? Alchemist is a hero about science, he's a scientist, so feel free to experiment and see how all this shit holds up. Thank you. Just to finish up the item guide, replay's pending, so unfortunately I can't show you it in the game. Sadly, I'm so sad. I've been searching for this replay and it's in the last 2 weeks, so I don't know what's happening there, but I just can't seem to get the replay. Anyway, we won this game, and I guess what I'd like to say with your itemization is to be creative. I got a deso because you're hitting throne, so be creative. Be creative and really think about what's the best item I could get. So I'm against a Wind Ranger, a Spectre, a Mars, a Veno, and an Oracle. A lot of their damage is unpreventable damage. So if Mars blinks on me and I had an item like Blade Mail, he would also tank his combo basically, and he would kill himself. Like he has to press his spells. Otherwise he's just blinking, ulting me, and then walking away. He has to take that damage. So also with Wind Ranger, right? Unless the Wind Ranger is aware, she'd have to stop the attack. She'd have to stop attacking you. And sometimes they attack you so fast and they do so much damage that they can't even react. So the item I got this game was a Blade Mail. And I really wish I could show you it in the game. I am desperately trying to get this replay. It won't give it to me. So I'm just going to have to explain what happened. And yes, my team, and we're going to go into a whole video about this. My team did flame me for this, and they're like, oh my god, this is Alch's so noob, he has no idea what he's doing, blah blah blah. But like, if you see here, around 10 minutes, she goes on me with Javelin, a time where she's supposed to kill me, and I was in fog, I was like hiding, like the second I got Blade Mail, I returned to lane, she went on me, and she killed herself. You can see it right there. She straight up just killed herself, 100 to 0. And the Blade Mail actually, it does slow down the Radiance, but also it is a farming item because of this passive damage return. And on top of that, 6 armor, 28 damage. These are all nice stats. So I bought the Blade Mail, and it turned out to be the right move because although I did die around 12 minutes, I'm able to still get this is a pretty bad Radiance timing, but, having this 2,000 gold item, I was expecting around 16 minutes, 15 minutes, but I did have this death. So you still got the Radiance, and then I guess carrying on there, I got standard items. But what I'm basically trying to say is there is no real... I tried to show you the real... this was the build, But you have to kind of think outside the box with this hero, and like I was saying in that video, if you need an item, just get it. Like, just get the item. And I needed a Blade Mail. I got the Blade Mail, and we won the game pretty decisively here. Around 30 minutes. That's where I was, I talked about it in the timings video, but around the 30-minute mark, between 30 and 40, is when you want to, end the game. So we started making plays around 33. Once I got all my items, I don't know. Once I got BKB, I'm pretty sure, we started making moves, and we just ended the game. So hopefully that was a nice addition to my itemization.